Good evening, folks. I have a couple bonus shows tonight for you. Bonus show E. The title is Inside the Lives of Those Who Care and Live with Dementia Patients. Here we go with the presentation I made for you. Please sit back and enjoy. Dementia enters a home the way winter enters a landscape, slowly, quietly, and then all at once. At first, it's only a chill, a forgotten appointment, a repeated question, a moment of confusion that everyone explains away. But over time, it settles into the corners of the house, into the rhythms of the day, into the relationships that once felt effortless. It becomes the air the family breathes. Inside these homes, caregiving is not a role, it's a relationship rewritten. The slow rearranging of love. Caregivers often describe the early months as a kind of emotional double exposure. The person they love is still there, familiar and warm, yet overlaid with someone new. A husband who once fixed everything around the house now struggles to operate the microwave. A mother who once remembered every birthday now forgets her own. A father who once drove across the country now hesitates at the threshold between the kitchen and living room. These moments are small, but they accumulate. They change the they change the way a family moves through the world. One daughter told me, I didn't lose my mother at all. I didn't lose my mother all at once. I lost her in inches. But she also said, I loved her in miles. The intimacy of daily care. Living with dementia means living inside uh, a constant choreography of care. It is deeply physical, deeply emotional, and deeply intimate. A wife guides her husband's hands as he buttons his shirt, her fingers pushing his. Knuckles the way they did When they were young, a son helps his father shave, steadying his chin with a tenderness he never knew he possessed. A daughter sits beside her mother's a daughter sits beside her mother during meals, reminding her gently how to lift the spoon, how to chew, how to swallow. These tasks are not simply tasks. They are acts of devotion. They are they are the ways caregivers say, I'm still here. You're still mine. The quiet heart breaks. There are moments caregivers rarely speak aloud. The first time their loved one forgets their name. The first time they become frightened of the shower. The first time they ask to go home, even though they are already sitting in their own living room. These moments land like small fractures, not catastrophic, but cumulative. Caregivers learn to carry them without letting them break the day. One woman told me, I cried in the laundry room so he wouldn't see. Then I folded the towels and went back to him. The shrinking world. Caregiving narrows life. Friends drift away, unsure how to help. Invitations become rare. The caregiver world contracts to the size of the home and the needs of the person inside it. There is exhaustion that settles into the bones. There is loneliness that feels like a second shadow. There is grief that reviews itself every morning. And yet, caregivers continue not because they are saints, but because they are tethered by love, history, and the quiet promise they made long before dementia arrived. The moments that keep them going, despite everything caregivers describe, moments that feel almost holy. A husband who no longer knows his wife's name still reaches for her hand. A mother who cannot recall her daughter's birthday still hums the lullaby she once sang. A father who forgets the day of the week still smiles when his son walks into the room. These moments are still small, or these moments are small, but they are sustaining. They remind caregivers that connection persists even when memory does not. What remains inside the lives of those who care and live with dementia patients, you find a world shaped by tenderness, exhaustion, resilience, and grief. You find people who wake each day knowing the person they love may be a little further away, and who choose again and again to stay close. You find families who redefine love not as shared memories, but as shared presence, not as what was, but as what still is. This is the quiet heroism of dementia caregiving. Not loud, not glamorous, but profoundly human. Palliative care, physician and health system executive in northwestern Pennsylvania. It blends narrative truth with the structural failures you confront every day. It is meant to feel lived in. Guys, here's the rest of the presentation for you. Okay? It's another narrative that I prepared for you. Emotionally resonant and legislatively undeniable. Inside the lives who care and live with dementia patients. Dementia does not simply arrive in a home, it settles into it, arranges the furniture of daily life, the emotional architecture of relationships, and the very definition of family. It turns ordinary routines into acts of vigilance. It turns ordinary people into caregivers long before they have the language, training, or support to name what they have become. Inside their homes, caregiving is not a role, it's a relationship rewritten by a disease that touches every corner of a household and every gap in our policy landscape. The intimacy of caregiving and the isolation it creates. Caregivers describe the early months as a slow unraveling, A husband hesitates at the doorway, unsure which room he meant to enter. A mother forgets how to use a spoon. A father picks up the TV remotes and tries to call his sister who died 20 years ago. These moments are small, but they accumulate. They change the way a family moves through the world. A daughter told me I I lose my mother in inches, but I love her in miles. She also told me she had no paid leave, no respite coverage, and no one to call when she needed help at 2 a.m. This is where narrative meets policy. The emotional burden is inseparable from the structural one, the daily work of preserving dignity. Inside these homes, caregiving is intimate, physical, and consistent. A wife guides her husband's hands as he buttons his shirts. A son steadies his father's chin as he shaves. A daughter sits beside her mother during meals, reminding her gently how to lift a spoon. These acts of care are quiet, tender, and profoundly human, but they are also labor, skilled labor performed without training, compensation, or relief. Families are doing the work of a workforce we have never built, and the system assumes they can do it indefinitely. The heartbreak the heartbreaks caregivers rarely speak out loud. There are moments caregivers cry silently. The first time their loved one forgets their name. The first time they become frightened of water. The first time they ask to go home, even though they are already sitting in their own living room. These moments land like fractures, not catastrophic but cumulative. They shape the emotional landscape of caregiving. They also shape the policy landscape. Caregivers need support not only for tasks but for grief. Yet grief is not reimbursable. Exhaustion is not reimbursable. Love is not reimbursable. And so caregivers continue privately heroic, publicly unsupported. The shrinking world and the widening gap in policy. Caregiving narrows life, friends drift away, work hours shrink, savings evaporates. The caregiving world contracts to, to the size of the home and the needs of the person inside it. But the policy gap widens. No guaranteed respite care, no universal long term care benefit, no paid family caregiving leave, no standardized dementia competency training for home care workers, no reimbursement model that values relational labor. We have built a system where families are the safety net, and then we act surprised when they fray. The moments that keep caregivers going. Despite everything, caregivers describe moments that feel almost holy. A husband who no longer knows his wife's name still reaches for her hand. A mother who cannot recall her daughter's birthday still hums the lullaby she once sang. A father who forgets the day of the week still smiles when his son walks into the room. These moments sustain caregivers. They remind them that connection persists even when memory does not. But moments are not enough. Love is not enough. Families cannot do this alone. What remains and what must change inside the lives of those who care and live with dementia patients? You find tenderness, exhaustion, resilience, and grief blended together. You find people who wake each day knowing the person they love may be a little further away, and who choose again and again to stay close. But you also find a truth that policymakers must confront. Caregiving is not sustainable without structural support. Families are performing the work of a long term care system that does not exist. They are absorbing costs that should be shared. They are providing care that should be recognized, trained, and compensated. They are holding up a system that has left them holding everything. Dementia caregiving is not only a personal story, it's a policy failure, and it is a policy opportunity. We can build something better, something worthy of families who are already doing the work. Okay, guys, that is your E. Have one more to do, but I'm gonna take a little break, and I'll be back on for that in a short while. For now, Gator Wellness, take care, folks.